Hello, and thank you for joining this session today. My name is Marzia, and I am project manager at ECSA, the European Citizen-Science Association. The session today will last 1 hour, and beside myself, we will have 6 more speakers, and I will introduce them to you just before their presentations. This session is about EU-Citizen.Science. Before giving you a very short brief about what EU-Citizen.Science is, I would like to ask you a few questions. So far you have probably been sitting and enjoying presentation, but this time we are going to start with an activity that is going to also involve you. I have prepared for you a very short quiz, a very funny one, where I would like to get a little bit of understanding of whether it's the very first time you hear about EU-Citizen.Science or if you're already a bit familiar with it. So please don't be shy. There is no prize at the end, unfortunately, but only very, very funny questions to answer. So I'm going to share my screen now. So just have a little bit of patience and be with me for a second. Here it is. And I'm going to start my presentation now. I hope you can all see my screen well. So you might have heard about this EU-Citizen.Science thing. And I'm really curious to see if you actually have any idea of what it is. So I'm going to start with a really, really light question to start with. And in order to interact with you today, I have prepared a Slido poll. So I don't know if you are familiar with Slido. It is very easy to use. You just have to, either on your phone or on your laptop, you just have to open a browser and go to slido.com. If you're on a phone, it's even easier because you can see the QR code here. So you just have to click on to take a picture of that QR code, and it will lead you directly to the page that you see right now with a few questions. I'm going to go very slowly in order to allow time for everyone to connect to this page. And in the meantime, I'm going to read you the first question that, as you can see, is really extremely difficult. So my question is, EU-Citizen.Science is today's lunch recipe of a typical dish from Trieste. Could be, why not? An online platform for sharing citizen science projects, resources, tools, and training. Or a very secret club of citizen science aficionados. I'm going to allow a few seconds for everyone to answer to this extremely difficult question. I know that some of you might be already familiar with the platform, with EU-Citizen.Science, but let's see. I see 23 persons have already been really brave to answer these questions. I'm going to wait 10 more seconds so that we will have more answers. 30 answers. Let's see what you have been deciding. I'm going to show the results now, and unfortunately this will close this question, but no worries, there are more exciting questions coming up. So yes, EU-Citizen.Science is an online platform for sharing citizen science project resources, tools, and training, and you're going to discover all about it in this session today. 82% of right answers, that's amazing. It is not a very secret club of citizen science aficionados. I don't know if secret club of citizen science aficionados exist. If they do, I would really like to know about it. But no, we are actually trying to be as open as we can in what we do and be really transparent in the work we are doing on this platform. And you will hear about this in this session. And it is not a typical dish from Trieste. Actually, the suggested lunch for today is Jota, which is one of my favorite dishes from Trieste. I hope you have had time to cook it at home. It's really good. And you can find the instructions on how to prepare it on the ECSA conference website. Every day a new one. So let's move on to the second question. So now that we know that it is a platform, I would like to know if the EU-Citizen.Science platform is only accessible to paying members, currently accessible to project members only, so to a limited group of people, or openly accessible to anyone in the planet and beyond. Why not? So you can still, normally this should be appearing on the same page as you were before. If it closed or something happened, you can still go to slido.com and enter the hashtag, the number that appears here on the left side. And then it will take you directly to this poll. So it's an easy one. I'm going to wait just 10 more seconds and then see the results. I see already 40 persons have been answering. That's really nice. Thank you, everyone who is participating to this poll. And I'm now going to present the results. 3, 2, 1, let's go. Yes, in fact, the platform is openly accessible to anyone in the planet. It is completely open access. Even the source code of the platform is completely open access, and you will hear more about this in one of my colleagues' presentation. It is not accessible, so it is not. You don't need to pay to access the platform, and definitely you will not need to pay, at least in the near future, let's say. And it is open. So we launched the platform in April this year, and it is really accessible to anyone who is curious to find resources, projects, and to interact with peers. Last question, and then we are going to move on to find out more about the platform itself. So as a registered user of the EU-Citizen.Science platform, you can become the owner of the platform at the end of the project. Use the forum to get in touch with peers, comment on resources and projects, upload new ones, and create your own library. Or nothing. It is actually not possible to register on the platform yet. Okay, the third one is a little bit more difficult. Of course, you can go and open the platform and maybe find out about this directly there. I'm going to wait a little bit for all of you to be able to answer to this very difficult question. It is allowed to go to the platform and check. It is not cheating. Okay, just 5 more seconds. 3, 2, 1, and I'm going to look at the results. Of course, yes, you can you can register on the EU-Citizen.Science platform. You can create your own profile, and once you're registered, you can actually use features like the forum, or you can comment on existing resources and projects, and you can also upload new ones. This doesn't mean that you cannot access things without being registered. You can still access resources, projects, and things like that. You just won't be able to comment. And my colleague, Margaret Gold, is going to tell you a lot more about this in her part of the session. You cannot become the owner of the platform at the end of the project, because EXA is actually going to be the owner of the platform and is going to keep it alive for a very long time after the project is over. So this leads me to my very last slide before heading over to the next speaker. Actually, this is a very summarized visual about what it is that we have done so far. So EU-Citizen.Science, the platform that you have probably seen and opened by now on your browser, has been financed by the European Commission. We have started in January 2019, and the project is going to go on until the end of next year, the end of 2021. And it has been a very nice, amazing journey involving 21 different partners from all over Europe. As I mentioned, in April this year, we have officially launched the platform. There has been a huge work behind the creation of it, including consultation with future users of the platform, and a lot of thinking and reflections about key elements that we had to really look at in order to come up with a meaningful platform, a meaningful gateway to citizen science in Europe and beyond. And the presentations that we will have today are actually going to be really focused on all the steps that have led to what you see there nowadays, all the thinking reflection that we have done collectively as partners of these EU-funded projects. So I'm going to stop here and stop sharing my screen. So basically, my colleagues will be telling you a bit more about the journey so far. I'm going to now hand over to our first speaker, who is Silke Voigt-Heucke. I'm really sorry, I'm probably not pronouncing this name in the right way. I tried. She's the coordinator of the EU-Citizen.Science project at the Museum für Naturkunde in Berlin, and she's also going to share a bit more about the journey so far that has led to this amazing platform. Thank you, Silke.
Yes, thanks so much, Marzia. I hope you hear me well, because I'm actually in a room that has a lot of echo. So I'm trying to speak clearly, so despite the bad audio conditions, you get to hear what I want to say and share with you. So as Marzia had said, the journey of EU-Citizen.Science has been fantastic, and we're really happy that so many people along the way supported us, the European Network, EXA, and a great, very inspired community of citizen science practitioners, scientists, and institutions. And I would like to talk a bit about why we think it is important to have a platform such as EU-Citizen.Science, why it is important for the European Commission and for the citizen science community. So first of all, EU-Citizen.Science is funded by the European Commission, and it is really a European gateway for citizen science that brings together many projects, first of all, funded by the European Commission, but also projects that are funded on a local level and on a national level, especially for countries where we don't have national platforms yet. And we are aware that currently also most of the content is in English, but of course we are aiming towards a very inclusive approach. So we will have the possibility to also have the forum in national languages, so that the platform really appears from citizen scientists at the local level, but also to people on the national level and more strategic people that are interested in the platform for networking purpose within Europe. So why do we need a European platform for citizen science? So it is really about opening up knowledge, being able to have a platform where projects are visible to citizen scientists, to the citizen science community, and we also share our knowledge. So we do have amazing features now on the platform where we have very high quality training resources, and you will later be told by our colleague Margaret how to use and access these. And you really have here a platform where knowledge is actually shared and also created. And it is a check platform not only for citizens, but for the whole community. So really anybody that is interested in citizen science will find a place, a niche where interests can be shared. So sharing knowledge is a lot about opening science and opening projects, and our new feature where organizations can register and also you as individual can register will give you the visibility on a European platform to meet colleagues and see how the growing community of citizen science is developing in Europe. So we very much hope that this platform is a platform for the European public, but of course also for the international public that is interested in citizen science and in this very much flourishing field in science. And with this, I'm very happy that our next speakers will tell you a bit more about the different working packages in the project on the meta level of what is citizen science, and also on the practical level, how to actually use the platform for you and your purposes. And with this, I would like to hand over again to Marzia, who's going to guide you through the session as a moderator. Thank you, Marzia.
Thank you very much, Silke, for this really nice and enthusiastic introduction to the platform. So as I mentioned before, now we are going to really focus on some of the key elements that we have been working on until now. Of course, as you can imagine, getting to build a European platform for citizen science was quite a challenge at first, and there were very elements we had to think about in order to get to a really good outcome. One of the first questions we asked ourselves was, okay, so this platform is about citizen science, but then what is citizen science about? I know it seems quite an obvious question, but it took us a while and a lot of work that was amazingly led by Muki and Haklay from UCL London to get to a definition of characteristics of citizen science that is really being very useful for the work we are doing now on the platform. So welcome, Muki. And I hand over to you now for your presentation on the EXA EU-Citizen.Science characteristic of citizen science.
Thank you very much, Marzia. And we'll start with a question. Just a second. Okay, so here's a story for you. If Marzia guided you to cycle, I'll guide you to Mentimeter. Eric is a teacher in Uppsala, Sweden. For the past 15 years, he has been running a weather station that is part of Weather Underground's personal weather station network with over 250,000 participants who share their observation data with Weather Underground, just like Eric. In return for data sharing, the company is providing
Muki, I'm really sorry to interrupt you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm sorry, but maybe it's an effect of EU-Citizen Science, but you sound like a robot right now. You have been robotized.
Okay. Is that okay?
It was an interesting sound
better?
effect, but it was difficult to understand. Now it's much better, yes. You might be
Now
the alien from
so
Mars who is actually connecting to EU-Citizen Science.
Absolutely. So if you see a case study, I hope that you managed to read it. I won't read it to you completely, but do go to Mentimeter and type the code that you see there at the bottom and tell us what do you think. Is this an example of citizen science, and how confident you are that this is a good example. So let's go to the next thing. Here's another example that it's easier to actually decide, or might be easier for you to decide. This is a case of Jane, which is a long-time supporter of the charity, the British Trust of Ornithology, and she's contributing to the Garden Birdwatch program and happy to give £17 a year. She doesn't do anything else, she just gives the money. And we have to think if this is an example of citizen science or not. So is it good enough, or should we skip?
There is a funny thing happening where if I'm on the screen with you, your sound is okay. And if you're alone on the screen, the sound is not good. So I hope you won't mind me just being here silent, and then your sound is okay.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. Okay, let's do it this way. So here's the need for characteristics or for understanding what is citizen science. There is requests from different stakeholders, policy scientists, even on the EU citizen science. We need to use characteristic or decide what is citizen science in order to decide if a resource belongs to the platform or if a project belongs to the platform. But what we wanted to do is to accommodate a wide range of definition that will help emerging different criteria that our specific platform call or regulation. If someone is doing a project in the medical area, they don't need the same definition as someone who is doing a community activity. So the aim is to provide the characteristics that can be part of citizen science project, not to say what exactly is the definition, and then allowing people to choose the set that they are interested in. The way to do that is to identify things that are citizen science, things that are absolutely obviously citizen science. Then there are things that are obviously not citizen science, say a clinical trial where people are just saying as a subject. But there is a gray area in the middle, and we wanted to have clarity about that aspect. The way it was done is by developing 10 factors and then additional 60 sub-factors, and understand the potential ambiguity of this data by exploring different aspects. We look at those 10 factors, and you can find more detail at them later. Now, with these 10 factors, we created 50 stories of the type that you have seen. And those 50 stories were looking at those different factors and asking people to say how easy it is to decide, and then to decide on a scale between 0 and 100 how much this is an example of citizen science. There was also an area for textual information and giving us a rating and explaining why people are doing that. And here's the result. It was actually an astounding success. We had 330 responses. Actually, as always in the participation session, we talked about it. There were additional people who never submitted any result, but out of the 330, actually, to our surprise, 42 people completed the whole survey, which took quite a long time to go through those 50 stories. The answers came from across the world, and giving us quite a good confidence that the sample that we have is a good one. Then we can look at the result. So let's now look at what you have said. You have looked at Eric, and a lot of people indeed found the case of Eric challenging. As you can see, among you, the people that actually voted, among the 14 people that voted, there was kind of the confidence is a little bit high because you are a representative, you are professionals who work a lot in citizen science, but notice that the value that you put in is somewhere in the middle, where the range was here between 0 and 50. So what we can see is that you matched what other people have also done with this case. Those cases are difficult to say, and the reason that this one was difficult is because of the commercial involvement. So we discovered that whenever you put in a case a commercial engagement, this raises issue. Jane was an easy one to define, and I included her because it was the clear no. And we also included in our survey 5 cases that were designed to be an absolute example of citizen science. Not all of them were easy to choose, although one case really stood out as a clear example. And even among the cases that we chose as a clear not citizen science, we had some ambiguity. That led to creation of a document that summarized the finding from it, and the document is broken into core concept, noticing disciplinary aspect, difference between medical research and social science, leadership and participation, the financial aspects, how you pay or get paid to do the citizen science, and aspects of data and knowledge. And you can find it all by going to Zenodo and looking for the EXA characteristics of citizen science, where you'll find much more information and also an explanation document that justify the decision. So what are the application of it? It's already used in EU-Citizen.Science to decide which projects are involved. It's already have been used by one funder. We've seen it in a call for citizen science project that is just about to close in the UK. You can use the vignette once we publish them fairly soon after we submit a paper about it. There can be opportunities for further analysis of the result, which we'll welcome. So that's it about the characteristics, and I hope that this project will be useful for you.
Thank you very much, Muki. Thank you very much for sharing this presentation.
Thank you for the magic of joining me on the screen.
It's the first time this happens to me, but I'm happy I could help. So please, to all the participants, do not hesitate to keep writing questions in the chat, and we will do our best to address them at the end of the presentations. But I would really like to jump to the next one. So the second question that we asked ourselves was, okay, we are going to have a platform where we host resources on citizen science. How can we make sure that these resources are of good quality? So I would like to welcome on the screen Dilek Fraisl from IASA in Austria, and she's going to tell you a bit more about our quality journey so far.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Marzia. Thank you, Muki, for the great presentation on the characteristics work, which will help me a lot now presenting our work on the quality criteria for citizen science resources. So as Marzia mentioned, my name is Dilek Fraisl. I work at the Center for Earth Observation and Citizen Science of the International Institute for Applied Systems Analysis, IASA, based in Austria. And I will now give you an overview about the quality criteria framework we implemented or keep implementing on the EU-Citizen.Science platform, and what we plan to do to improve this framework and to address the resources gaps exist within the platform. So, as mentioned, as part of the quality work, our aim was to develop a framework to identify and facilitate the collection and sharing of high-quality citizen science resources. And by high-quality resources, we mean resources that are easy to access or easy to implement and adapt, and that are well-structured, clearly described, written in a clear language, and ideally have an impact on society, policy, or science, and therefore useful to the citizen science community and beyond in many different cases. So high quality for us also meant resources that engage with the Exo-10 principles and the characteristics of citizen science, as Muki mentioned. So we already published a deliverable or a report as part of the project on our quality framework that you can find in Zenodo. I'm sure you will see the link to Zenodo in the chat. In this session today, I will give you a broad overview of what this framework is about, how it works, how have we been implementing it so far, and what our future plans are to improve it to serve the needs of the community even better. So in this slide, you see how our resources page on the platform looks like, and Margaret will give us a very nice hands-on experience, or she's going to take us through the journey after me. So you can filter the resources based on categories, themes, whether they went through our moderation process or not, or you can also search for resources using keywords. Additionally, anyone can upload resources to the platform that goes through our moderation process, which is the implementation of our quality framework. And basically, first, I would like to talk a little bit about the approach we used to develop the criteria, how we developed it. Of course, we started by defining some of the key concepts, what some key terms mean in our particular context, such as citizen science resources, good quality resources, and even the term citizen science itself. Again, I'm referring to Muki's presentation and the characteristics work. Then we identified categories and subcategories of resources, and we define them as well, such as tools, guidelines, materials, and so on. And our general approach was to implement an integrated top-down and bottom-up approach. And with the top-down approach, we had 3 overarching criteria that we applied all types of resources wherever possible. And as part of the overarching criteria, we looked at for instance, if all the metadata fields are filled in correctly by the person who is uploading it, and if the characteristics of citizen science and Exit principles are considered in the resource. And then we had 9 specific criteria in about the structure, aims, applicability of the resource to other contexts, among others. Then for the bottom-up approach, community was actually, we enable the community to upload the resources that they find useful for themselves and rate them feedback on the resources that I will talk to you briefly about. So in this slide, you see the decision tree that we used during the moderation process to decide whether a resource passes our quality criteria to be listed on the EU-Citizen.Science platform or not. So the first thing describes the which was applicable to all types of resources uploaded, if the resource meet our 3 overarching criteria, and if the answer is yes, which category does it belong to, and then we checked our 9 specific criteria, and so on. So so with this criteria framework, we tried to create a living and well-balanced and sustainable repository. While doing so, we tried to address the diverse needs and expectations of the different target groups and to empower the community to take ownership of the process. And we've done that through different phases that we went through the project. And for instance, understanding the needs and expectations, we had work and report on that as well. And we believe this framework might carry an important function of guiding and influencing upcoming resources developed in the future in line with this criteria. And the whole criteria and the moderation process is transparent to provide a basis and guidance to other existing or emerging platforms at the local, national, and global levels. But of course, there were some challenges. It wasn't an easy process, and we're still working on improving the whole work. While we agreed on the need for implementing a framework that is defining quality, we also shared the opinion of avoiding application of a very strict criteria is important. In the end, the purpose of this exercise is applying certain standards to define quality based on the community needs and expectations, but at the same time not being exclusive, because the whole process within the EU-Citizen.Science project or the platform is inclusive. Different resources may be helpful in different contexts, in specific contexts. So the quality of a resource could be context dependent and subjective. Therefore, we agreed to allow the community to upload resources that they find useful for themselves, and the others to provide feedback on those resources and how they use these resources. We also acknowledge the limitations and challenges of this criteria. For instance, the complexity of the implementation. This is not an easy process. And to come up with the criteria itself took us about a year, and also to implement it, to moderate everything that is uploaded on the platform is taking quite a bit of time and effort. But we're happy to do so because we really want to have this platform to be the guidance and to be really helpful to the community. And the other thing is the sustainability of the approach, because as I mentioned, it's difficult, and what's going to happen after the project ends with the moderation process and many other things. So these 2 issues were the main considerations since the start of this task, and we have plans, or we are making plans to make this sustainable and a good approach throughout the whole process. But it's a challenge to come up with a result that meets the needs of the diverse audience with different expectations. So another challenge was to take into account the complexity of the field citizen science itself as an emerging one. This also shows the importance of creating an active community around the platform who will keep developing this quality assessment process as the field develops. Like this was the case with the characteristics work and Exit principles as well. A lesson learned from the process for us is that regardless of how simplified is or the whole process is, quality is a difficult one, a very subjective concept. People have different ideas about what quality is and what is good quality, which makes it difficult to turn into a standard methodology. And we had a lot of issues or difficulties around that throughout this process. Additionally, as part of this work, we conducted a gap analysis to identify what gaps exist on the platform in terms of the resources. I would like to thank my colleague Gerrit Hager for that from IASA. She has been leading this gaps analysis. We wanted to understand with this work what resources do different audiences need, what resources are available on the EU-Citizen.Science platform at this point of time, and based on these, what are the gaps and how we can close these gaps. So we concluded that there are resource gaps on the platform at this stage. Of course, it's a new one, and clear strategies are needed to close them. Some examples from these needs are, for instance, in the resources in different languages, because currently it's an English-heavy platform in terms of resources, and resources covering topics such as engagement, impact, and communication in terms of the themes was another gap that we identified. And based on the results, we created an action plan that includes, for instance, mobilizing the project partners or the community to produce resources to close these gaps, or look into what's available in the literature to try and find them and make them available on the platform. So based on the outcome of the characteristics work, with this release that we are launching, we also plan to create a data field asking the submitter to describe the citizen science aspect and the characteristics work, or how it's related to the characteristics work of their resources and projects, to describe the way in which their resources is useful and can be used in what kind of citizen science context or project is another field that we plan to make available. And this will be not easy and require even a longer moderation process, but we would really like to empower the community to help them to take the ownership of the platform and reflect our inclusiveness approach and principle as EU Citizen Science. The project provides the possibility to review and improve this criteria that I presented right now until almost through the end of the project, and we are working on it. There will be a review of the criteria framework throughout the project and even after the project with the community support. I think I'm done with my presentation, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Dilek. Thank you very much. And there are some interesting questions that we will try to address all together at the end of the presentations. So we would like to move one step forward in our journey. And actually, now that you know a little bit more about the behind the scene of the work that led to the creation of the platform, we are now going to try and do a hands-on session, although virtual, with our colleague Margaret Gold, who is the community manager for the EU-Citizen.Science platform, and also my colleague at EXA. Welcome, Margaret. And we are going to, Margaret is going to actually take you on a short journey through the EU-Citizen.Science platform. Thank you, Margaret. And don't forget to unmute yourself.
Thank you, Marzia. Thanks for the introduction. Indeed, I'm going to set everybody to work. Can I please ask you to open up a new tab in your browser and go to the EU-Citizen.Science website. The URL is in the name itself, EU-Citizen.Science. And I'm going to walk you through a few of the new features. So obviously, to start off, what you need to do is you need to log in. I've already signed up, but if you've not signed up yet, please click on the sign up button and register yourself as a member of the community. I'm already logged in, so it's found me, and I just click on log in. Now, the first thing I'm going to show you is our brand new shiny community forums. So finally, we can all be talking with each other, sharing things with each other, asking questions, answering questions. And my first job for you today, if signing up was not already your first job, is I'd like you to go to the forums, and I'd like you to scroll down to the community section, and I'd like you to come on over to the community news and say hello. Please click on introduce yourself. You can either reply to me here, you can start a new topic. Please come on over and say hello to us. Now, if you are joining us from other countries, and everybody's joining us from all around the world, which is absolutely wonderful. I'm going to just pop right back up to the top of the community forums level. We have a number of forums that are in your own language, in your own nation. As you can see, we've got a few starter forums here. If you see your country there, your language there, please join the conversations there. Meet other people in your region, help them out with finding things if they're new to citizen science. And if you don't see your language here yet, please let me know. Send me an email. Tell me how to say citizen science in name of country in your language, and I will add a forum for you, and you can dive in and get the conversation started. In fact, Jakob has just done that today, so we've got fantastic representation for the Czech Republic there already. So please do that to get the conversation started. I'm popping back up to the top level. As you can see, there's a range of forums that are already there. But if you have any ideas yourself about what else you would like to talk about, it's a bit of a scroll, but here's an area where you can add any other discussions that you would like to. That's completely open for the whole community. So the second thing I'd like to show you, going back to the home page, you will see that we've got a shiny new way to show you all of the different kinds of content we have. We have projects, we have resources, we now have training resources and materials specifically about the citizen science as a practice, and we have organizations. So my third job for you today is to add your organization, and you can do any of this adding of content right up here, this nice green add button. If you pop down to the organization form, you will be able to add your organization profile. Now, I'm going to continue going through the website, so if you want to be opening up new tabs, so you have homework ready to go, and adding yourself to this platform and making it yours, because this is the whole point. It's meant to be for the community. Now, once you've been adding these profiles, you're going to be able to go back and edit them at any time by going into your My Profile area. You'll see your submitted projects, your submitted resources, and another lovely feature is if you've followed any projects and you've added any resources to your library. So as you're browsing and you come across things that you like, you can actually click on a nice little Add to My Library button on the bottom here, which I've already done, which is why it's in my resource area. Now, popping back over to search, and you'll see the search function throughout the whole site in the menu bar now, except if you're on one of our static information pages. I'm going to show you how well search works. That's not what I meant to copy paste. I'm going to search for a very specific project here. I'm going to search for this project. And there it is. I see it here. I'm going to open it up. Now, because I'm an administrator, I have a few other fancy buttons that other people might not have. But once you have created your organization, what you're going to be able to do is when you're editing your organization, you're going to be able to connect your projects with your organization. This one happens to be coordinated by Ebersivis. So I'm going to add Ebersivis to this project profile. Scroll right on down to save. Oh, and it's asking me for some information, probably in new fields. Nope, it's saved there. Fantastic. So now you'll see in the information about this project that Ebersivis is the main organization leading it, but also Unizar is involved. And I have one final thing that I want to show you about our content, and that is our Gold Star selection. In the Gold Star selection, we have made an attempt as a consortium to curate a number of standout resources or training sessions that we think are fantastic for getting started. So the platform is primarily aimed at practitioners of citizen science, people that are starting citizen science projects, people who are interested in starting citizen science projects, people that are thinking of using citizen science data for helping make the decisions in the decision-making process, so policymakers, anybody getting started or deeply into it that wants to continue to improve their knowledge and do best practice. So that's people with experience and people that are completely new. And as you can imagine, that's a range of hats you might be wearing. You might be an educator, you might be a community leader, you might be a researcher of the science of citizen science, as many in the room today will be. But here you have a curated list of where we think are fantastic places to get started. So if you're completely new and this big pot of fantastic content has you not knowing where to start, this is our selection of a great place to get started. At any stage, if you have ideas about what you think happens to be a stellar resource, what you can do is you can let us know by giving it a star. So I'm going to open up this one, and I'm going to leave it a review. I'm going to say, this is quite nice. Forward to reading it. And because I've not actually read it or used it, I'm not going to give it a top rating, but I give it some gold stars because I'm already quite impressed, and I'm going to send. And there you can see that there's a rating already showing up. And now if I go to resources and I'd like to sort them, and I found my first bug of the day. This is meant to be our filter, which sorts by rating. So you can see all of the top rated going downwards. So that's another nice way for you to highlight what the community thinks is a fantastic resource. So Fran, that's one to add to our GitHub issue list. Today we're doing a live walkthrough of a brand new release that we just migrated last night. So that's a classic catch the bugs live on camera. Please send us anything else that you see as you go through, as you're adding content, as you're joining the community forums. If there's anything we've missed, send us a note. If you go to, let's see, if you go to development, it will give you information about how you can contact us, how you can raise issues, and how you can let us know things you're bumping into practice. And we'll be getting onto those quickly because we're hoping lots of you are doing stuff. So you'll be catching all of the final little remaining bugs for us. So with that, I am going to hand back.
Thank you, Margaret. That was an amazing journey through the EU-Citizen.Science platform. Thank you very much for showing all the features. And I'm sure now people are way more familiar with it and are really willing to contribute and join and add things there. We have just one last step in this journey that has led us to the creation of the platform. And so I would like to ask the last speaker of the session to join us, who is Francisco Sanz Garcia from the Ibercivis Foundation. Hello, Fran. And actually, Fran is the platform developer, so the man behind the scene who has been creating the platform as you see it nowadays, with a very, very, very big contribution from Exa and from Margaret. They have been working a lot together on achieving what you see, the platform that you see online today. And actually, one of the questions that we asked ourselves when we started creating the platform was also, how do we make it talk and interact with other? There are so many already citizen science repositories, platform, etc. So how do we make interoperability between what we are creating and what already exists? So Fran is going to give you a bit of technical details of how this works for the EU-Citizen.Science platform. Welcome, Fran. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, Marzia. Thank you, everybody, for being in this presentation. Yeah, before saying that I want to say that I'm very happy that only 1 minute book in the presentation. So I'm very happy that everything was fine. And the other thing is that remember that you are not the owner of the platform, but you can be the owner of the source code of the platform as it's being developed as source code, at open source. So you can go to GitHub and use this platform to create your own platform. Yeah, and the other thing that I want to say is that the target public is the citizen science community. So we are very, very happy if you can help us in the site what is the next feature you want to be in the platform. So if you have an idea that something has to be developed, please come to us and say us, I want this to be on the platform. And we will do our best to do this. So beside that, I'm going to share my presentation. I'm going to be very, very quick. Yeah, I hope you can see it. So about interoperability, I want to say that we want to save your time. Yeah, but because the problem we face in the platform is that people doesn't want to upload their project to a Spanish platform, to a series started, later to EU-Citizen.Science, then to a Latin American platform, and this is a big deal, a big problem to put your project in a lot of different platforms. And the other problem is if you are changing something in your project, how to do this in all the different platforms you have this project uploaded. That this is a common problem in not only in Citizen.Science but also in internet. And there are some tools that we are trying to do, and interoperability is one of them. So what are we doing? We are trying, we are using the standard, the PPCR core, that is the standard for Citizen.Science projects. We are using this together with other platforms. For example, with the ARCS, with the Swedish platform, with the Spanish Citizen.Science Observatory, with the CS Starter is also using PPCR. And yeah, we are trying to use some standard in order to provide the same language to be able to communicate between different platforms. So the first thing is to use the same language, to use the same metadata in different platforms. And I will ask you, all of you, if you are creating a platform on Citizen.Science to use these standards in order to be interoperable between us. So the other thing that I want to talk a little bit is about different schemas. As we are running out of time, I don't want to enter very deep on this, but only to remember that there is some standard in internet. It's a standard for the restaurant vocabulary, for example, but there is another standard for Citizen.Science as PPCR. So please go and use this kind of standard in order to share information between different platforms in an automatic way. There are some examples here. I don't want to enter. And the other thing that we are developing is the API, is the application programming interface, that it is another way, is complementary to the thing I said before. Is the other way that one machine can ask to another machine for information out, for example, about projects. With this call, one platform, for example, the CS Starter platform can ask to our platform to provide all the projects that we have in our platform. So all the projects can be pushed inside the CS Starter and vice versa. We can ask a CS Starter to get all the projects to our platform. And this is a way in order to save time to be every time to be in the last version of your project in different platforms. So finally, I want you to, as I said, I want you to join to this initiative and to try to share this standard, to use this standard, and we will start, as Marzia can tell us a little bit more about this, we will start this next month in working deeply in being in contact with different national platforms and being in contact with other platforms to share information between us. So that's more or less all. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Fran. I'm really sorry that we had to go so fast. As you can imagine, it's a lot of things to tell you in an hour. So I would like to invite all speakers, if possible, to be on the screen with me. And we have received quite a lot of questions. I would like to maybe focus to start with on one that is really interesting. So on one side, someone was asking, why do we need to be the ones who decide what is going to be on the platform or not? Why don't you let the community decide? And on the other side, someone was asking about how do we moderate this process and how do we ensure that there is no bias or agenda? And maybe, Margaret, you can help me in answering this question, and that would also allow us to give an idea of what are the steps coming out and how actually we hope that the community is going to take an important role in the platform.
Yes, absolutely. The biggest thing that we look to for the community to say themselves what is valuable, what is a great resource, what's a great project, is the star review system that's available to the whole community. In terms of the moderation process, there's been a couple of instances where people have shared amazing resources with us, but we've gone back to them and said, this is actually a classroom education material that doesn't have any direct connection with citizen science. So although it's lovely, it's not really a citizen science resource, but otherwise there's actually not been one single thing that has not met our quality criteria. So and in terms of what people are sharing with us, there's nothing badly written, there's no bad video, there's no bad audio. So in terms of meeting the quality criteria, although that's a hugely thorough piece of work and thinking that's gone into it, as Dilek has described, and it sounds like the bar is really high, and to a large degree it's really not. The hardest question is what Muki's been talking about, which is what is citizen science? So the hardest decision is when people share amazing projects with us, and it's this kind of borderline scenario of, well, is this really citizen science or not? As a platform and as a consortium, we've really taken the view that we're about being inclusive. So we err on the side of inclusivity and not erring on the side of strict criteria of you meet this bar or you're out. So that's how we're addressing that one. And the question of the gold star came up. This is our attempt as a consortium to really highlight some top quality stuff, because the EU gave us the mandate to say something about really great practice, what best practice is. But if we see in your reviews that something's getting a ton of stars, that's a good cue for us to add it to the Gold Star collection. And you can reach out to us at any stage and suggest that we do as well.
Yeah, my guess is something a little short, is if you upload something that is not going to be moderated, this is not going to disappear from the platform. It's going to appear as unmoderated. So it's in the platform. You will be able to see it. We are not saying that this is not in the platform. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Margaret and Fran. And there is also an interesting question about training, which is one of the biggest things we are working on at the moment, and we will in the future have training models available on the platform. But someone is asking, sorry, I just lost a question here. Are trainings which are not online or that are not webinars and have already happened interesting to be part of the platform? Maybe, Muki, we can try to address this challenging question.
Yes, so in the platform, we will have two things that relate to training. First of all, at the moment, we are compiling a list of training resources, which is exactly going to be the type of things that were mentioned. So things that happen offline, or if you got some guidance that can be shared and so on. And also we even have the potential of doing this translation hub and helping people to find it and maybe translate it into different language. In addition to that, there will be at least 21 hour or 2 hour modules. If you look at the just published deliverable that actually describe how we are going to have an approach that will ensure that there will be high quality 1 hour training, and we invite people who are interested in creating training or sharing training, for example, that were used in projects that ended and want to find a way to host them. We can take them over and host them on the platform. So the training is something that will come towards the end of the year, and I really hope that it will become a resource for something different. So it's not for MOOCs, it will be for short training, say 1 hour on ethics or 1 hour introduction to citizen science and things like that. I really look forward to that part.
Thank you, Muki. And we can maybe already say that these will probably start to be available towards the end of this year. Maybe we have just a few seconds for one last question that I find really interesting. Someone was asking, how do you organize the engagement of communities to participate within the platform throughout Europe? So this is something we are really working on. As you could see from Margaret, there are forums in different languages that are being facilitated by our project partners who are actually from a lot of different European countries. But also we are really working a lot on getting in touch with existing national networks, and and we have already had meetings with them, and we plan to have more in the coming months. And we are really exploring about how the EU-Citizen.Science platform can interact and actually support already existing national platform. We absolutely do not want to replace them or take their role. We actually want to be supporting them and working together. So this is definitely also something that will help us overcome language barriers and bring together this big community of citizen science in Europe. I think our time is over now, so I think we have to say goodbye. If you would like to know more about the EU-Citizen.Science platform, we have another session tomorrow at 1:30 p.m. Central European Time. It is actually a sponsor session by EU-Citizen.Science, and that's where we will tell you more about the new features of the platform. The platform that you see today has actually just been released 24 hours ago, and it is actually very with improved functionalities and a very new design. So in case you have just connected for the first time today, you might not have noticed, but it's a new release that we are launching officially tomorrow, and we will also have guests from the European Commission in our session tomorrow at 1:30 p.m. Central European Time. Thank you very much for being with us today, and thank you to all the speakers. I hope the session was interesting to you, and some of us will be in the social room now, and we will try, and we would be happy to keep chatting about the platform. I'm very sorry we couldn't address all the questions, but we will do our best to get back to you. Thank you, and in case you are in the right time zone, have a good lunch, and see you later in more access conference sessions. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.